Hey again, guys, and welcome back. So, another YouTuber, and I'd like to say a friend of mine, another maker, has sent me a gift. And the only thing I know about what's in here is that he said that I should be able to make a mailbag video on just this box. So, welcome to another edition of Mailbag, but this one is another maker edition. So let's get this open. And while I open this, I should tell you that you should go check out Another Maker's YouTube channel. The link will be in the description below. And he has two channels, so you should probably check out both. One is Another Maker, and the other one is Develop with Dan. Read last. Okay. Oh, Walmart bag. Very good. Alright, so this box here seems to be 18650 box. Yeah, size 18650 or equivalent. And it looks like, yeah, they're in series. See how the positive here is linked to the negative? So we've got a 18650 battery holder with a little Molex connector. What do we have here? So this is a little board with some transistors on it, and I'm guessing it's a level shifter. Actually, it says level converter right on it. Very cool. There's another one. This looks like a relay module. Okay. What are these? Oh. These are pogo pins. And two sets of them. You know, I have never actually seen pogo pins in person. They are tiny. Some sort of wrapped up thing. There's another relay module. Another relay module. A set of keys and a lock cylinder. Okay. Xenon IoT Development Kit. Particle Mesh plus Bluetooth. Okay, never heard of this. Very interesting. A case with some stuff inside. The case is a little broken. I don't know if that happened in shipping. I'm going to open this up. We've got... Alright, so we've got looks like a microcontroller board. Have to take a closer look at this. Another microcontroller board. I can see a sort of a display on there. A ribbon cable. Very interesting stuff. And a little cutting mat. I think that's it. Now, I have this that's wrapped up. I'm a little afraid. And this read last thing. So I really want to give you guys a close-up of some of these things, and in fact I need a close-up because I really don't know what some of them are. Maybe I'll open this first. Let's see. Oh, okay. These look like lenses. Very interesting. Let's take a closer look at some of these items, and then I'll read the note. So let's take a look at these things a little bit closer, but in no particular order. Just the order that I feel like looking at them in. Okay, so what do we have here? This is a little board, and I see there's an OLED on top. There looks like there is a crystal underneath there. Looks like there's some sensor boards, servo. So there's some servo. Very interesting. Some analog pots here. And this microcontroller is an ATmega 328P. Let's see here. It says A-deeped robotic arm drive board. Well, that's interesting. That's very cool. There looks like there's an on-off switch here. And micro USB over here. Reset button. And some analog pots, I'm guessing to control the robot arm button for whatever reason. Well, that's really cool. So this works, this is a wired controller for a robot arm. That's very cool. I wonder if there's any information on that piece of paper about how to use this thing. That's so cool. So that is very cool. And I think now that this guy here, the 18650 holders, I think that goes into here. It does. Looks like we're going to have to build a robot arm. I do have a bunch of servos, and that's really interesting. There are some I/O pins here. So D13, D12, D6 is a bit far for me to read the little text here, but D4, D2, TX, RX, ground, and 5 volts. This is very cool. So maybe once I get this thing going on a robot arm, which I'm very excited to do, then I can perhaps try to do this remote control with an NRF24L01 or something. This thing's pretty neat. Next one up are these level shifters, and I do know what they do, or at least I know in principle what they do, but I don't actually have any, so these might prove to be extremely useful. But they basically take a certain logic level. I believe usually it's like 5 volts and brings it to 3.3 or vice versa. So it's basically there'll be like VCC and ground. I don't know how well you could see this, by the way. But there'll be like a VCC and ground on both sides. And then the inputs. So yeah, it shifts high voltage to low voltage. Oh, I thought it would be 5 to 3.3, but maybe it does anything to whatever the low voltage is. That's really interesting. So I got 2 of these now to play with, which is good. Always good to have doubles because, you know, if I blow one, I always have the other one left. So that's, again, pretty cool. We're going to have to give that a shot in a future video. Next is this one in this kind of paper packaging. Let's see if I can read it from this far. Nordic Semiconductor NRF 52840 system on a chip. ARM Cortex M4 64 megahertz. 256 kilobytes of RAM. 802.15.4 mesh networking. I believe that's Wi-Fi, the 802 protocol. I'm not very good at it. And Bluetooth 5. Wow, this is a pretty recent board then. 20 mixed signal GPIO, 6 analog ADC, 8 PWM, UART, I2C, and SPI. I know some of those words. That's pretty good. And 4 megabytes of SPI flash on board and LiPo battery ready. Oh, maybe that 18650 board will work on this as well. Has an interesting paper. I don't think it's that at all. I don't think that's a Xenon IoT development mesh. This is, it looks like a Raspberry Pi camera. And I do have a Raspberry Pi, but even more than that, I have a couple Orange Pis, which are basically knockoff Raspberry Pis. That's pretty neat. Ooh, look at that. Looks like a wide-angle lens because of the roundness of it. Well, that's super cool. So I guess that this ribbon cable is actually for that. I'm guessing this slides into here, probably board side down. Slide that in and lock. Yeah, I think that's what that's for. So that's pretty cool. I actually felt like buying some of these for use on Octoprint for my 3D printer. But I guess I don't have to buy them now. I can experiment with this, and if I want a couple, I can get a couple. That's pretty cool. Next one up is this ESP type board. I just have to say that up till this point in the video, I still haven't gone off to look up anything. I'm just going by what I can see. So this is a... Oh, it's a Wemos board, so that's an ESP32 or something. ESP-W Room 32. Whatever that means. ESP-W Room 32. It has an OLED built onto it, has some GPIO off the side, has micro USB here, a reset, a boot, and an enable. Interesting. And it has a little chip here, and that chip is... I don't think that chip has any markings on it. You guys see anything? I don't see a darn thing. But that's cool. Another little OLED to play with. And this thing, I believe the ESP chips are Wi-Fi and or Bluetooth. I think they can do both. So that's going to be fun to mess around with. I do have some sensory type things in the works, and maybe something like this is exactly what I need to move those projects along. We're going to have to learn how to use these. If you have a good source for, I don't know, source code or something for that, let me know in the comments below, but I'm sure another maker will be glad to share some projects with this. Next up are these relay modules. I do have relay modules, but not in this form factor. And I think I just spotted something that makes these kind of nice. There we go. Don't need anti-static packaging. So let's take a quick cursory look here. These are... they look like they are... Oh yeah, 12 volt DC. There we go. So they're 12 volt relays. The coil in them actuates on 12 volts. And they look like they can handle AC current, which is great. But what I see here is this component here. Now this 4-pin chip, I am assuming, is a optocoupler. So whatever AC you have going on in here will be completely separate from the Arduino on the other side that will be controlling it. And in fact, I believe it also means you can feed a separate 12 volt DC for the relay and still use a 5 volt type signal for switching. So an optocoupler separated, isolated device is extremely safe because it literally just uses an LED and a LED sensitive transistor to shoot a beam of light between one pair of legs to the other. So even if you had 1,000 volts on this side, it would never creep to the other side because the transmission is done by a beam of light. I will have a video coming up on optocouplers, and I could use these guys as an example. And on top of that, some of you do know that I've been dabbling in 120 volt devices, and so a little bit of 120 volt wiring over on this side could increase the danger factor and, let's be honest, the viewer factor. Next up, I was finding it quite strange that he would send me some mechanical parts like a lock cylinder, but then I realized this is not just only a lock cylinder. This is a switch. There's actually no mechanical, sort of output to this thing. There's no like little lever that spins. This is a lock that turns a switch on and off. Not super high security, as you can tell, these keys are quite flimsy, but enough that somebody that you don't want turning this won't be able to turn this. There we go. Oh, it makes a satisfying click. That's pretty cool. So I could actually, lock my power supply behind this, and as long as nobody has access to the back, there'll be no way to start the power supply. Same thing, you can make a fuel cutoff on your vehicle if you want. If you have an older car, you can run this to a relay that turns on the fuel pump. And so, sure, someone might be able to find this, but it'd be such a pain in the butt to try to unlock it to make the fuel pump work that by the time they figured it out, you're already right behind them with a baseball bat, if you know what I mean. So these things are pretty cool, and actually I'm really excited to add this to my collection, because one of the projects I've always wanted to make was an RFID safe. Basically a safe that doesn't open unless you have a correct RFID card or tag. This would be great for testing purposes if something goes wrong and the RFID stops reading. Well, I could probably use this as a bypass, so I can actually just key in, if I forget or if my code stops working or whatever. So that's pretty good. I like that. Next up is a super close-up zoom of this cutting mat. Kidding. So this is the cutting mat that he sent, which is pretty interesting. It's a little 4x4 inch, but the graduations actually just go to 3.5 or so. But what I wanted to show you is these pogo pins. I'll tell you, go on eBay and look up a pogo pin, and you'll find these. They are very inexpensive. However, I never pictured them being this tiny. So they're just a little pin that has a contact type, like a head to it. But you can get these in different shapes and sizes. And basically what it is you'll have a board with a whole bunch of pads. And you'll have these in a rig coming in from the top. And you just press them together. And there's a little spring in here that allows some give and some pressure. And you can do things like program like a microcontroller or something with it. I wanted to build a rig to program Pro Mini Arduinos with pogo pins, but now that I see the size, that may not actually be doable. He said he had a bunch left over from a previous project. I feel like if I push this one in, I'm going to get stabbed. So here goes. Yeah. Super fluid movement. Really nice and springy, but friggin' tiny. So maybe I'm going to have to design some pads on a board rather than do this directly onto the Pro Mini. But this is interesting to play with nonetheless. And on top of that, it's another excuse for me to take out the macro lens. And last but not least are these two lenses, which were wrapped in paper. And I'm starting to have doubts about the reason why these were wrapped in paper. But basically, these are plastic lenses, and they look like they magnify. Oh, my lighting is off axis here, so it's a bit more complex, but there you go. Can magnify. You flip them around, it should give you a wide angle. Yeah, there's the wide angle there. Just barely see that 2 there. And the reason I have my doubts is because if you go look on another maker's channel, you should see that I sent him a mystery item, and that mystery item he had to do a project with, or well, he had to agree to do a project with if he felt like taking the challenge. Because this is in paper, I wonder if this is part of that same kind of sinister plan. But I guess the best thing to do now would be to go look at the note that says read last and see what it says. Well, not one for following directions. I have made it to the end, and here you go, another maker. Your tape is still intact. I'm just going to open this tape up and see what we got. I think he said everything on the inside is okay. Yeah, I think it should be okay. Alright. So, Dear Simple, I hope this letter finds you well. I've included some goofy... Oh, you know what? Maybe I should make sure the focus is good for you guys. That's probably better. Included some goofy and hopefully useful stuff for you and your channel. I've learned so much from you over the past year, and I've found you to be so encouraging as I stumble and fumble my way through YouTube. Trust me, dude, we're all fumbling our way through. The relays are 12-volt trigger. I wonder if you noticed that when you unbox them. I figure with your honkin' battery and auto background, you may find interesting use for them. I sure will. Every one of those key switches uses the exact same key. Oh, that's unfortunate. Shouldn't tell my viewers that. You're welcome for not actually sending you a particle xenon. Yeah. Hopefully you'll find more use out of the item in that bag instead. Yeah, okay, true. I overpaid for the cutting mat. Merry early Christmas. We all overpay for something from one time to another. Maybe not pile of stuff, though. I'll have to ask him about that. I can't wait to see what you do with the pogo pins and the ESP32. The ESP32 being this guy here. I'm actually excited because I have a Wemos D1 Mini, and I don't know if it's exactly the same, but it's in the same family. Your challenge. I knew this was coming. I kind of deserve it, though, to be fair. Build something cool with the Adept board. It is very cool. You program it in the Arduino IDE. Oh, thank God. Telling it how many steps you want. Then you can position all your servos with the dial and record that step. Really? Then it can repeat that sequence over and over again. The board needs external power to run the servos, which you can do with 18650s or cut the connector off and use another power supply. Really? That is so cool. So you position and it records, and then you can make it play. That's amazing. I'm going to have to make a video sooner rather than later on that board. I want to give it a shot. That is awesome. Okay. Arms of YouTube United. Another maker. Well, thanks a lot, Another Maker. You guys should totally go check out his channel. And look forward for a video on, I think, at least once of each individual item in this mailbag. If there's something specific you want to see first, let me know in the comments below. It's really good to have feedback from you guys, so I'm not just shouting into the void. And all of these electronics goodies, and I guess this non-electronic goodie, makes up today's Mailbag Another Maker special. If you guys liked this video or like anything you see in this video, please go over to Another Maker's channel, link in the description, go subscribe to him, and then on any one of his videos, or if you're bored, every one of his videos, tell him that you subscribed from this video. I want to thank you guys all for watching, and let me know what I should play with first.